Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I just want to apologise for any potential audio issues. I am slightly sick at the moment, so I'm just going to try and get through this episode as quickly as possible so that it can be out for you guys to listen to. So, I started off, and this is what films I watched in the past month. Obviously, as you probably saw from the title. So yeah, I started the month off with the two Independence Day films, which I did an episode on, so go check out the episode singular, that I posted. Go check it out, and you'll get my full thoughts, but I'm not a big fan of them, and I don't particularly care for them. Following that, I watched Spirited Away for the very first time. I don't think I get the love for it, honestly. It's like fine, I guess. It's not terrible. I wouldn't go as far to say it's a terrible film, but it's not good, and I don't think it really deserves the sort of praise of being considered one of the best films ever. Certainly not one of the best animated films ever. Like, there is at least 100 animated films I would put above it in terms of quality, but yeah, I honestly was sort of, as it was going, I was I was sort of at this sort of one level, like this sort of score that I was going to give it, and then towards the end, there's just some stuff that happens that bumped the rating down for me, and I just don't get it, and I just don't see what everybody sees in that film, honestly. It's pretty mediocre. Then, following that, I watched Kung Fu Hustle, which it was a lot of fun. I had a really good time with it. I thought it was just was fun, and I very much enjoyed what they were doing with it. For those who don't know, because some of you listening might not be entirely aware of what this film is, it's a sort of martial art, like foreign martial arts film, directed by Stephen Chow, who also has directed stuff like Shaolin Soccer, which I have not seen, but this film is about sort of this chosen one narrative. This guy becomes he becomes this sort of like master martial artist, and he has to take down and defeat this sort of group of villains, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely well worth the watch. It's like less than 100 minutes, so it breezes on by. It's not it doesn't overstay its welcome or anything. It's one of the best things I watched last month. I followed that with Super, James Gunn's sort of first superhero film he did. It's probably my favorite film of his that he's done. I just really like what they were doing with it. It's very raw, and it's very gritty, and it's sort of very clearly shot on a low budget, so you're not gonna get anything particularly amazing out of it, but it is his best film to date. I haven't seen Slither, but I doubt Slither's as good as Super, and it's a really good film that I would put as the best thing of his career, behind Peacemaker, of course. I followed that with Juno, which was a pretty solid film. It's weird that it was a Best Picture nominee, if I'm being completely honest. It just doesn't, and it wouldn't stand out to me as a Best Picture nominee. If someone said, "Oh, can you name a Best Picture nominee from that year?" I probably wouldn't mention Juno, because it's not the film that I sort of would go to. It just doesn't, it feels a bit off, but it was a perfectly solid, enjoyable film. Elliot Page was really good, and I thought she gave a really nice performance. Michael Cera is always a delight, as I've discussed before. I love Michael Cera to bits. He's not the greatest actor, but he's so fun and enjoyable. J.K. Simmons, who again is always a delight. You can't really go too wrong with J.K. Simmons. Juno was a very entertaining film that I quite liked. Then I saw Thor: Love and Thunder, which I will again be discussing at the end of the year in the review of the year episode, but I think it's fair to say that I seem to like it more than most. A lot of people are very turned off by the film, and I don't understand why. It really doesn't, it doesn't feel any different from Waititi's other work. It definitely doesn't feel that much different tonally from Ragnarok, but everyone seems, well, not everyone, but people seem to be having problems with it, and I think, I don't know, maybe I just enjoy Marvel films a lot and I get more out of them. But yeah, I had a blast with it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's one of the best MCU things we've had recently. I think right now the MCU is sort of in a bit of a flux state, but hopefully as we round out Phase 4 and we get to Phase 5, everything can start feeling, everything can start being at the level of Phase 3 again. Because that's just what I want. Phase 2 is the best phase of the MCU by far. And I just want everything to be back to that sort of level of quality again. Then I watched 8 Mile, which I did an episode on, so go check out the episode I did for that film. I followed that with The Full Monty. A friend of mine really, really likes the film. It's one of his favourite films, and I don't particularly get it. I don't think it's particularly interesting. The characters are not particularly likable, and that's not necessarily a bad thing to have unlikable characters as the leads. It's more a problem of if that's, I'm fine to have unlikable protagonists in films. I would just prefer them to be interesting if they're gonna be bad people, but they don't really give us that with The Full Monty. And yeah, it's just super strange. There's some really weird stuff. For those who don't know, it's about these guys who are trying to earn this money, and to do so they become strippers, male strippers, and yeah, it's a bit of an interesting film, and that I didn't particularly care for. That's just how it is. Then I watched Michael Bolton's Big Sexy Valentine's Day Special. You could argue it's not a film, but I would argue it is. It's got a clear narrative throughout. It's got a beginning, middle, and end. Yeah, I had a really, really fun time with it. I think, Michael Bolton, of what I have listened to of his music, is a wonderful singer. He sounds great, and this Valentine's Day, special, I guess, but also kind of a film is really good, and he's collaborating with The Lonely Island, who I'm a massive fan of, who I think are excellent musicians, and yeah, I just had a really good time with it. It's very basic, and it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's a lot of fun, and I do recommend you check it out, because it's also less than an hour long, so you'll get through it pretty quickly. It's well worth a watch. Then I watched the Zombieland film, Zombieland and Zombieland Double Tap. I like both of these films, but I think I prefer Zombieland Double Tap just a tad more. I really liked the Zombieland films. I'm not the biggest zombie fan. I don't know if I've made that clear in the past, but I like zombie films, relatively so. I'm just not enamored by the genre in a way that a lot of other people seemingly are, but I had a very good time with the Zombieland films. I really like, I think the sort of core cast of 4, it's a really solid cast, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and an actress whose name I unfortunately cannot remember right now. Bollocks, I really should have remembered. Abigail Breslin. But yeah, I just had a really, really fun time, and I do prefer Zombieland Double Tap just a tad more. I got a lot out of it, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And I would argue that Double Tap is better than the original Zombieland. Oh, and the Bill Murray cameos in both films are brilliant. I love them. I'm a big Bill Murray fan, and seeing him pop up in those films is great. It's a delight. And then I watched Eternals, the sort of most recent MCU film that I hadn't seen up to this point, and I'm now fully caught up with the MCU in terms of films. There's I just need to catch up in the last couple episodes of Miss Marvel, and then I'm like truly caught up with, beyond the Netflix stuff and the ABC stuff and, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that, but like the sort of mainline stuff that, a lot of people have been following. I didn't particularly care for Eternals. I really wanted to like it. I wanted to go against the grain. I wanted to say, hey guys, you're being very harsh. This film is actually pretty solid, but it's not. There's a lot of problems with it. There's too many characters that it's trying to introduce in one film. Most of them aren't particularly interesting or developed, except for Kumail Nanjiani, because he's great, because Kumail is great. But I just didn't. I just did not care about what was happening, and I know that they are going to be doing, presumably they're going to be doing something to follow this up. I potentially the post-credit scenes very much set up the idea that they're going to continue with this, but also maybe they are not going to anymore because the sort of reception of Eternals was negative overall, but it had some really nice concepts, and I think like special effects wise it looked really good, but I just didn't connect with it in a way that I feel like I really should have. But it's one of the weakest Marvel films, and one that I'm highly unlikely to rewatch anytime soon. Then I watched the Alex Garland film Men, which is very weird. I like it. I do think people have genuine reasons to not like it, and I think that the sort of complaints and criticisms against the film are very valid, and I can totally see where they're coming from, and I don't particularly care for the ending. I think it's really weird and really gross and feels almost unnecessary, but like I sort of enjoyed the first. In fact, I did enjoy most, like the first half or so, where she first goes to where Jessie Buckley's character first goes to the house, and she's sort of being introduced around by Rory Kinnear, and then there's the sort of scene in the tunnel where she's being like I really liked that, and I think Jessie Buckley was excellent in the film, one of the best performances of the year so far, possibly my favorite performance of the year so far. Or so no, I would actually probably put it behind Cooper Raiff and Cha Cha Real Smooth, which I mentioned in a previous one I watched this month, and probably Stephanie Sue actually in Everything Everywhere All at Once. But Jessie Buckley was excellent in the film, and the film is definitely worth a watch, especially if you're an Alex Garland fan. If you like Ex Machina, and you liked Annihilation, or you liked Devs, his sort of TV series he did, I would recommend you check out Men, just to see, because it's a very weird film, but I feel like there's a lot of interesting takes on it, and I think you can take a lot from it, and I think a lot of people can gain a lot of appreciation for the film, and I feel like it's a film that potentially in several years' time might be sort of looked at like sort of an underappreciated gem, which I think is definitely possible. But yeah, I liked it. I just wasn't blown away by it. Following that, I watched the Charlie Chaplin film The Gold Rush, which I liked. It's probably my favorite Chaplin film of his I've seen. The other ones I have seen are The Kid and A Woman of Paris: A Drama of Fate, which is, he's not in it, so you probably wouldn't have heard of that one. But I mean, The Kid is really great. I really liked The Kid, but The Gold Rush was just, it was very good. I had a really good time with it. I really liked the ending, the sort of stuff at the end with the house, and was just brilliant. Charlie Chaplin is a very sort of important filmmaker in history, and guys, and him and Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd, they really helped pioneer classic, the early days of cinema. The Marx Brothers as well, of course, But yeah, I really enjoyed The Gold Rush, and I'm definitely interested to see the other Chaplin work, or at least the good stuff that everybody likes. So like Circus, City Lights, Modern Times, and I think Great Dictator. Yeah, then I mean, this one's technically a game, but it's also technically a movie. Black Mirror Bandersnatch. I really liked it. I finished Black Mirror earlier this month. I really love Black Mirror. It's an excellent show, and I really enjoyed Bandersnatch. I just had it was very interesting to see all the different paths you could take, and I really appreciate this. I'm someone who sort of enjoys looking at stories of sort of alternating pathways, like the best episode of Community, for example, Remedial Chaos Theory, is just that. It's 7 different timelines with and Bandersnatch is kind of the same thing more or less. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't amazing or anything, but it was quite good, and I did really like it. Then I watched Les Miserables, the 2012 film, and my goodness, was that an interesting film. I'm not overtly familiar with the musical, the original sort of stage musical. I figured, it's probably worth a watch, and I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was amazing or anything, but it was a film that existed. Some of the acting was really good, and some of the singing was also really good. Like Hugh Jackman and Anne Hathaway in particular were really good. I liked Amanda Seyfried. She was great in it. I thought she was wonderful in it. In fact, Amanda Seyfried, but yeah, I mean Anne Hathaway, obviously, she's great in it. But then you had sort of other singers who I didn't like as much, like Sacha Baron Cohen and Russell Crowe. I just didn't. It was a perfectly fine film, but it just didn't emotionally do anything for me. And plus, it's way too long. I just did not care for the film. Second last thing I watched the month, the Lego Batman movie, which I did an episode on last week, so go check it out. And I wrapped up the month with Brian and Charles, which is a little British indie film that is, I guess it's an adaptation of the short film Brian and Charles, and it's very charming, it's very sweet, it's very nice, but it also does feel like they sort of took the short film and extended it, to like an hour to 90 minutes, because they're like gonna make a film out of this. Then it was perfectly solid. I think the short film's ever so slightly better, but it's well worth a watch. But also, if you plan to see the film, check out the original short film as well. I don't think it matters really. It's just that the feature film it's just the short film, but over 90 minutes, and does more with it. But yeah, it was a perfectly solid little film that I had a good time with. So that's all the films that I watched in the past month. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode. Sorry if my voice sounds a bit off. I am slightly unwell, but yeah, and I will see all of you guys in the next one. Goodbye.